This week at Macy's, get an extra 20% off with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of great deals, like 10 to 65% off home essentials during our big home sale. Or shop specials, like the Radley 5-piece sectional sofa, $2,199, and 500 thread count sheets and more, 75% off. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift card services and fees. Sign up today at Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Bundling home and car insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who? They may drop little hints like,
beautiful day out. Even more beautiful since we saved by bundling our home and car insurance with Geico.
or
Yard work is hard. Much harder than bundling with Geico, which was easy.
or it may be even subtler, like,
Speaking of burgers, we bundled our home and car insurance with Geico and saved a bunch of money.
bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
Our intro is so spoopy, and the stuff that we spew out of our faces is just so funny.
It's not that spoopy.
Hi, everyone. This is Em and Liv, and we're your Meta PsycKicks. We're your sidekicks to all things metaphysical, here to bring you the spoopy, the paranormal, the spiritual, and the abnormal, and everything in between.
That's spoopy.
We're psychic mediums, twin flames, business partners, and extraordinary people. Sit down, buckle up, because we're going to talk about the Witch's Forest.
And guys, I found the Witch's Forest from going to Sam and Colby and finding one of their top-ranking videos, aka I know nothing about it before actually covering it.
Oh, yeah. We started off with haunted locations. That was like the topic that we were doing. So we've done, I don't know, the Galore Mansion, the Queen Mary cruise ship, other spoopy things like that, the Conjuring House, the Sally House. But people really like reaction videos. And as psychic mediums, it's more fun when we do it. I like to think it is, at least.
We're not reacting to things in
We're
this
reacting
one.
to Sam and Colby's videos, which is why you found it. You know
Well,
what
I
I'm saying?
guess. I was just trying to find a haunted location because that's how I found the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Is by going to other people's channels and looking at where they went to investigate.
They're spoopy places.
Yeah, because otherwise, I don't fucking know.
So we may not go there, but we're psychic mediums, and remote viewing is a thing for us. So when we go to haunted locations or talk about haunted locations, we like to do like a psychic chicken, if you will. One of us does the research, and the other one knows nothing. And before,
That was me.
yeah, Em was the chicken this time. And before I share my history, backstory, fun, spoopy time about whatever haunted location it is that we're covering, the other one has to guess it with their medium hat. And this is what Em has to say about the Witch's Forest.
So the first time I read into it was at work.
We should talk about what the Witch's Forest is, though.
I know you're going to after.
Well, yeah, it's a haunted location. We'll give you that. Sorry, go.
So the first time I read into it was at work, which was not a great idea because the energy of this place literally feels like a panic attack. And it's a panic attack in the sense of, like, it makes you feel like the breath that is in your lungs is being airbended out and you are suffocating. So a lot of people might equate this or think that this is, like, the suicide forest, and it is not. They are very different locations, and they very much feel very different. The suicide forest is more of, like, being in cotton, and this one is more like literally having an airbender suffocate you by taking the air out of your lungs. So the first thing I wrote down, because we did this in a video last week, was can't breathe.
That's unfortunate. You need an inhaler. It's the asthma. Sorry.
So we've already gone through this, so I know the, like, backstory. But I wrote down all the things that came to me before I knew anything, and the first thing that appears to me is this, like, black sludge smoke type of weird things that I equate to being the spirit of the forest. And what I described to Liv is it's like one of the RWBY characters from YouTube, RWBY being RWBY. And there's a character that it's like a series on YouTube, and there's the good characters that are defeating things, and then there's bad characters that are like these weird, dark, skeletal creatures that are like mishmashes of different creatures. And the image that I showed her, there's one specific one that it looks like, and it's this half horse, half human-esque type of creature. And when I showed this to Liv, she was like, oh, okay, cool. Which you'll find out later why that's cool. But I feel like the forest makes you see things. And if you've ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, they go to this, I think it's like a swamp or some sort of forest type area, and they start seeing things that like they want to see. So they saw their past loved ones that have died. They also see things like from the future, so precursors. Yeah, they see things that are going to happen within the series. And I feel like this forest makes you see past, present, and future. Like, the energy within the forest makes you feel as if it, like, replays not only, like, residual energy from the past, but it also replays present and future things. Just like this forest from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because there's a scene in this episode where Aang sees this, I think it's like a flying pig or, like, a little girl, and it's essentially equating to further down the line where he has to find an earthbending teacher, which is Toph. And Toph is, I think it's the Bafang, something like that. Bufon. They're the Bufon family, which their crest is a flying pig. So it kind of gave him a premonition of what was going to happen in the future. And I feel like this forest does things in a very similar way. The next thing that I saw is they show me kind of like a Bermuda Triangle type of thing, and there's like cell towers at each end of this triangle. And on the inside, because of these, when I say cell towers, that's just the way that they like explain it to me, is like these electromagnetic fields that are being emitted into the inside of this triangular shaped thing. And these so-called cell towers that I'm going to explain aren't necessarily physical cell towers. They're just a symbol for me to explain what's happening. But inside of this triangle, a lot of weird things happen because of the energy that was put into it. And what I told Liv was the energy is very much of it's caused by humans, but then because they like lit the flame, the rest of the forest kind of lit up with this energy, if that makes sense. They're the ones that instigated the flame, and then the rest of the forest blew up because of the, like, reaction to it. Also, they tell me, like, the trees have eyes, so it all feels like you're being watched at all times, and it also feels like rumors spread throughout the trees. It's like you get information from the trees in a similar sense of, like, in the Hunger Games, where you have the mockingbirds that repeat the things that you say through the trees. It's kind of like that energy. I also get this feeling, they show me The Lion King, the movie The Lion King, and I think it's like the second movie, the sequel, is that the word? Part 2. Where the main lion, again, I don't remember his name, something with a K, he goes to the shadows, and they describe that this part of, I don't know, this location is the shadows. So there are locations where they're in the light, and in this movie, they describe everything the light touches is yours. You're not allowed to go anywhere the light doesn't touch because it's dangerous. This place is the shadows. This place is the shadows of the Lion King. And then the last thing that I told Liv was I see this woman in all white. She like almost like glows, and she has like a little, I don't know if it's like a veil or a cape that goes over her head. And I see her coming out of water. But she is in the forest as well. And that's it. That's what I told you.
Yeah. Freaked me out.
Freaked me out because when I was doing it, I was like, this is all a lie. This is a fairy tale. This is not happening.
Well, it was weird because when Em and I were going to do the topics, one is angels and the other one is the witch's forest. And our patrons on Patreon voted. They voted on it. So that's what they wanted to do. And I was like, I don't want to talk to freaking things that are going to be in something called the witch's forest. So I'm not going to play chicken on that one. You can. But I thought she was talking about the suicide forest. I had no idea what the witch's forest was, and according to the internet, no one else does either. Literally, it's hard because all you have is Sam and Colby's video, and I was like, that is 2 hours long, and that sounds horrible. I'm not watching it. Sorry.
What?
Hard pass. No,
I could do a reaction video to it.
God. Well,
we can get a couple parts out of that for sure.
oh my goodness. It's 2 hours.
Let us know if you want us to get in that.
Sorry, 2 hours is too long to be one of my sources, but I was frustrated because when you search witches forest, you either get spammed with Sam and Colby propaganda, or you get stuff about an anime called Black Clover. Just so many fandoms and fan fictions. I'm like, this is not it. So, based on the limited amount of sources that are available or were available to me, this is what I found out. And it's comforting because as a last resort, I usually don't like to use podcasts or other forms of like live-ish content. I qualify videos and movies and podcasts and stuff as live sources, like moving sources or live sources. I usually like to read things about stuff. I'm just an old person. So I resorted to the last resort of live sources, and I found two podcasts on the Witch's Forest. One I started, and it was so not okay and like horrible for my ear holes that I was like, hard pass. I guess I'm going to have...
What was it about it?
The audio quality was really bad.
So it wasn't like, if you go here, you'll die type of energy.
Yeah, no, it was like literally 2 seconds of just...
It was like, here's our microphone, but it's actually a potato that we hooked up to an audio interface.
Yeah. Well,
we spent all our money on an audio interface.
Well, sometimes a lot of podcasts with low quality stuff, it has high quality stuff, and like it doesn't matter about the audio quality, but I was like, let me give this a chance. I just couldn't. It was like the Sesame Street version of a podcast. Anyways, that's mean. Anyway, I'm going to stop. So I was like, all right, that's one of two. Let's see how number 2 stacks up. Number 2 was better. And the people that I found are hilarious. I forget what their podcast is called. I'm sorry, but we're going to collab with you one day. You don't know who you are, but I know who you are.
Clearly she doesn't, but that's fine.
But it was comforting to know that the person that also made this podcast of one of 2 on the entire interwebs, at least in English, also could not find any sources. That is the first thing they said. They're like, when I tried to find this spoopy place, it was impossible. There's like 4 things on the internet that all state with the heading, this is the hauntedest place in all of America. Hauntedest.
The more hauntedest.
Yes. And of those 4 sources, only one was like an actual legitimate, assumably, source that had like somewhat original and lengthy information, and the other 3 were just taking parts of those and putting the heading, the most hauntedest place ever, with 1 or 2 sentences taken from the 3rd source.
Jesus.
So I'm just glad that someone else suffered with me. And through all of that suffering, the 3 sources in the podcast that the other person found that had the same 3 sources I found, this is the Witch's Forest.
But it's not actually called the Witch's Forest, right?
No, and that's the thing. So it is, but it isn't. It has a lot of names. So let me go on. I'm moving my computer and lots of things, so ignore my touching sounds. There you go. Get the bongos going.
Gotta really mean it if you're gonna hit the table.
If it has to start like the beginning of a Disney, like the scene from Tarzan.
No.
Where all of the
Liv is
gorillas.
unprepared. She's trying to stall and talk, but she can't do 2 things at once.
No, I am stalling, but I'm also thinking about the musical scene where the gorillas and Tarzan start playing with all of the things inside of the tent.
So the Witch's Forest. Did you write things in there?
Yeah.
Do I remember correctly? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Liv doesn't remember that she wrote things in there a week ago, but it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I know I did. Oh no, I didn't write things in Asana. I wrote things on the other thing. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Elevator music. John Cena. Do 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 do. Okay. Stop taking Snapchats of me. The Witch's Forest. is a large piece of land, approximately 90-ish acres, located, nestled, if you will, in the Angeles National Forest of Southern California. I did not know what SoCal meant until now. I guess people just don't like saying Southern California, so they're like, it's SoCal. Ugh. Anyways, all of the people in California, sorry. Also not sorry. And it was established, the Angeles National Forest, also known as ANF, by the U.S. Forest Service in 1908 on July 1st. Fuck yeah, America. Look at that. I also wanted to point out that this forest specifically, before we get into all of the details, is a Cancer.
I don't know what you mean.
Based on its establishment, its est dot of 1908,
its
July 1st.
zodiac sign is a Cancer.
It's a fucking Cancer.
Yeah, it tracks.
Oh, it's really great. So it encompasses San Bernardino National Forest, parts of Santa Barbara and San Gabriel National Forest, and it's headquartered in Arcadia, California. So there's a lot of things that have happened in this forest. Before it was a national forest and a Cancer, it had a lot of other people living there, which is how land in the world works, especially in the United States, you know what I'm saying? And it has a whole bunch of names. So I guess the Witches Forest is one, which is what Sam and Colby ran with. However, if you type in the Witches Forest, you get Google fizzucked with spam. So the other names for it are the Elfin Forest, which is specifically the 90 acres that I was talking about, and it says El Moro Elfin Forest Natural Area. But it also has a lot of things within it. So you can find it as the Witches Forest, not really, but the Elfin Forest gives you a little bit more wiggle room for information to be given to you. So when I told Em that it was called the Elfin Forest, well, she was nervous because I'm like, hey, you gotta look at the spoopy things within this thing called the Witches Forest. And she's like, I don't know if it's my real head or not. I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable. And I was like, well, if it makes you feel any better, and if the people on the interwebs are like, you're just gonna think that there's witches in this forest because your egotistical brain is gonna say that there's witches in it.
Nothing about witches, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know that you were worried, though. So I was like, if it makes you...
No, I was worried because when I read into it, it made me have a panic attack. Because that's what the energy of the place feels like.
Got it.
Not that there was witches there. I don't care if there's witches there.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, for the people listening and the people on the internet, I wanted to make sure that I made her even more uncomfortable and said, well, if giving Witches Forest is a name, let me tell you it's also known as the Elfin Forest. Good luck with that. But the reason it's called the Elfin Forest, all joking aside and metaphysical shenanigans, is that it's named after its pygmy trees, which, if you ask me, is the cutest freaking thing ever. It makes me think about, like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with the Oompa Loompas. But the reason it's called Elfin Forest is because of its pygmy trees, and the pygmy trees are California live oaks that naturally grow to a maximum of 20 feet tall. So everything's really small. I guess conservationists and naturalists call it... ecologists, whatever ologists you want to say about the forest, say that these trees are called, or this forest is categorized as a dwarf forest, hence the name of pygmy trees, and the Elfin Forest, since everything is fun-sized.
But what's interesting is when I was getting this information, I was asking my oak tree in my backyard, and they were telling me, because I was like, this is weird, because the information you get from the Elfin Forest is all over the place.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you want to talk about cousin Elfin Forest? Let me tell you what they talk about at Christmas.
Jesus.
So
trees.
So specifically this area within the Angeles National Forest, the Elfin Forest, is located in the Santa Rosa Mountains foothills of San Diego. And these trees grow short due to the high wind speeds, low temperatures, and light reduction from clouds and fog within their natural area. But there's a lot of popular myths revolving around the Elfin Forest, a.k.a. the Witches Forest. The popular myths include the White Witch, Harmony Grove, and Quest Haven, as well as the Native American Indians, or Native Americans, that lived there before, us, which is also tracks. Let's get into first the Native Americans, because they predate everyone else. and they deserve it. So I guess around this forest area, the two tribes of Indians, I need to stop saying Indians, I'm sorry. The two tribes of Native Americans were the Digueno, I believe is how you say it, Diegueno, and there's I forget what it's called, but the squiggle line over the N. I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, the Digueno Indian tribes, and another tribe of natives, they're called the Louisianos. But according to archaeological documentation, it suggests that the two tribes once held peaceful meetings within the Elfin Forest that they called home, as well as on the outskirts. But it annoyed me because one of the sources is like, since they held such peaceful meetings, why is it now that the land holds rumors of dark energy? I think the internet is funny. So these two native tribes existed around 9,000 years ago and kind of synonymously with other civilizations and villages until everything kind of got sucked into the same thing, kind of, unfortunately. So let's first talk about, after the natives, because they come back into these stories, that like white people do, they be settling, and they created a little tiny village. And in this village was a woman. I don't know. What do you want to name her? Barbara?
Is this the woman in white?
You're ruining it.
I don't know who we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's name her Barbara.
Okay.
Why not?
Barbie.
Oh, man. Why do you got to ruin everything?
You did it.
So Barbara goes out into the woods with her husband and her son in this little village settlement that they settled within the Elfin Forest a long time ago. It gives me like 17 to 18 vibes-ish type thing. I'm not sure because those kind of look the same. Only one kind of started to have light bulbs and the other one didn't. So do with that what you will. And there's not light bulbs. I can give you that. So anyways, my brain is falling apart. So Barbara goes out. This is not her name. I'm just joking. Please don't tell people that her name is Barbara. With her husband and her son. And they were gone for a while. The people in the village were worried, but they're like, you get lost in the pygmy forest. They might be small trees, but you still can't see over the top of them. It makes finding your car very hard. So they might have just lost their car. They don't know what's going on. But the village,
they're still like 20 feet tall now.
Yeah.
That's tall.
There's also not cars. But anyways. They got lost, presumably, or they just took a little bit longer to find their way back from Disney World. And the villagers got a little nervous, but it weeks passed. And finally, Barbara comes stumbling into the village, wild hair, crazy-eyed, got twigs and stuff all over her clothes. She needs a Tide stick. And they're like, Barbara, what happened? And she's like, the men in the forest killed my family. And they're like,
who are the men?
That's hard, Barbara. I'm so sorry. What?
Who are the men?
I don't know.
Oh. Okay.
I honestly don't know. They're telling me that I do know, but I don't want to know. So
why don't you want to know?
I don't know.
Are they physical people? Or are they like spiritual people?
Well, see, that's the thing. I feel like I see their spiritual manifestation, but not actually who did it. And I don't really want to know.
Interesting.
So I don't know. Maybe there was just like a random group of rogue men that didn't want to be in the village and they decided to get murderous.
So she went in the forest with her family?
Mm-hmm. The story goes that she went into the forest with her husband and son, and the men in the forest, according to her, killed them, and she escaped.
Why was she in the forest? Why did
know.
they go into the forest?
Probably to like hunt or gather or something.
Their entire family. You know, the details.
It was a family outing to Walmart. Why does everyone go to Walmart? They went to the forest.
Don't get lost in Walmart.
Oh, I just told you that you can't find your car in the parking lot. You don't think that people could get lost in a forest? I get lost in a
Those employees make you leave, my dude.
They don't have the Walmart greeters and the people in aisle 7.
Well, clearly they do. They're just murderous. Sorry.
Oh, God. 17th and 18th century Walmart, the forest. You're welcome.
The next video game we're going to create.
Oh, goodness. So she came back, and I guess the villagers were like, we have this program. It's called Get Back to Work. And they rehabilitated her and got her used to her life of being an only family person.
A widow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a orphaned mother.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And I guess she, still had the horrible haunted look of having her family massacred in her front of her face in the forest and then having to run back and tell people about it. And then one day she was like, I'm going to go hang out with the native tribes that are our neighbors and see how that goes. It's going to be a fun time. And I guess she would leave, disappear, and I guess according to what she was telling her friends at like the knitting circle, that she was learning all of this, what the internet described as like occult, spiritualist things. And they were like, okay, Barbara, you do you. We don't have AA yet, so that's fine. You learn your rituals and your occultist things that are not the same as our white people things, and whatever makes you feel better. And then one day, she dressed herself all in white and looked at the village people, and they're like, Barbara, where are you going? And she's like, it's time.
Time for what?
Exactly. I don't think any of these people had clocks on their hands. So they were like,
let me check the dials.
oh, goodness. So no one asked her because she had this hardened look in her eye, which was different from the sad look in her eye, I guess. Haunted look. She went from haunted to hardened with a little bit of occultism. And they're like, all right, Barbara, we're not going to ask you what time it is, but have fun with your time. And she went into the forest and never returned.
Well, you told me that she said that she was going to get vengeance on her family in passing.
Well, no, she never, according to the legends, she never specified what time it was. She wasn't like, it's revenge time. She wasn't like Sasuke.
She's Sasuke,
She was
leaving the village.
Yeah, no, she wasn't like Sasuke where she's like, I have to kill all of my friends and family because it's time for vengeance.
Because my brother did really shitty things.
She's like, it's just time. Time to get spaghetti sauce on my white shirt. I don't know.
No, it's time to get the stains out of my white shirt because she's the lady in white.
She's like, you try to beat me up and get mud stains on my shirt one more time. I'm ready for you. So the villagers just assumed, according to the legend, that she was there to go get vengeance, Uchiha style.
Got you.
But it was never confirmed nor denied.
What I told you in the video was I feel like she saw a woman in white when she was in there, and that's what helped her. And she was actually seeing herself because the forest shows you past, present, and future replays of things. So she decided, this woman in white is doing all of these great things. I'm going to do the same thing. But in fact, she was seeing herself do it because the forest does weird things.
Or was it the woman in white was the one that saved her?
That's what I think. I think the woman in white saved her, which is why she's the one that left the left the forest to go to the village. But I also feel like the woman in white was her.
I get it.
From the future.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. Similar to how Aang was seeing Toph in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. That's what they tell me. But again,
Wait.
it all seems like a fantasy.
Is that like how your spirit guide can be yourself?
You're talking about the weird loophole of time?
Yes.
Yes. I feel like the forest, can find residual energy, but it's from the future.
It's like, okay, have you guys ever watched The Magicians?
Yeah.
When Quentin and Julia go into the forest and save Jane from the tree that you have to like get the riddle off. You have to like answer the riddle of the thing that caught her ankle.
Yeah.
And in the book, there's like a desperate guy and like a powerful magician that help Jane. And then they realize once they actually go into the future that they are the powerful magician and like the loser.
Yeah.
She was the white woman. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That freaks me out. But one of the talking points I wanted to bring up is there was speculation, like, I don't know, in all of the spoopy paranormal things, people are like, the woman in white, the woman in white. It's like a super cliche thing. And I guess in like folklore, mystery, her name was Vishna type things, a woman in white is characteristically a sort of martyr in a sense of like they died tragically. They died for no reason. Everything was horrific and terrible. And that's usually what creates the soul or like spiritual being of, quote, a lady in white. And they usually are like Myrtle, Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter, a lady in white, traumatic death.
Yeah.
Or they like
but
help
do you
people.
think this village in the middle of nowhere had this folklore?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they had to have come from somewhere with some sort of weird beliefs.
Maybe it came because this woman turned into the lady in the white.
Well,
I don't know.
the other thing is people think that this is a more settler version of La Llorona. And La Llorona is like southern United States, South America sort of lore as well. And La Llorona is also seen as, quote, a woman in white, but different. So they think it might be like a settler version of it.
I think you should call me La M. Because I like how people say La. Is it supposed to be short for lady? La M. Or I could be La Sama. Lord La.
I like Lord La. Lord. Anyways, so I was like, okay, well, if folklore dictates, at least like synonymously, the common theme of spiritual beings or whatever of the lady in white is that they like avenge people or had a traumatic some sort of event in their life or for their death. That's how they become a lady in white. What if she was learning how to become a lady in white in her occultist time in school with her neighbors? That she was like, I don't like existing anymore, and I've heard these really cool stories of La Llorona and other ladies in white, and I found a common theme, so I'm gonna go into the forest and yeet myself to become a lady in white. Like, she wasn't there to avenge people. She just was like, I want to become a lady in white.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, God, the chair's upstairs. But if what you're saying is true, then that kind of makes sense because in a roundabout way, that is kind of correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most people are like, she went to avenge her family and then she just ate the wrong turnips.
Yeah, because most people are like, vengeance. They chose vengeance. She may have not chose vengeance that day.
She chose mythical lore instead.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so that's the lady in white, which is...
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a drama coach to be an IT guy.
Yeah, I'm having trouble logging in.
I'm not buying it. Say it again, this time with feeling.
I can't log in?
Come on, man. I want to feel your struggle.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Now, like your life depends on it.
I can't log in!
Yes, we'll make an actor out of you yet.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
It's really weird. Now, I guess when people talk about this, the settlers existed at the same times as the natives, and the settlers weren't the only type of like, normal standard white people that were settling there. There was also a group of people that were neighbors. And these neighbors, in the sources that I found, the alleged sources, they referred to them as the gypsies. However, there is no actual evidence of these people having Romanian or Roma heritage to be characterized as such. So we're just going to call them the nomads because that's usually the ignorant term that people use to describe nomadic peoples. So you got to picture it. It's 17, 18 something. There's the Native American tribes and there's the white settlers who are besettling and the nomadic group of people. So they all seemed at the time, according to how I read it, my understanding is that they were all pretty copacetic, Can I borrow a cup of sugar? And they're like, no, here's this other thing that I grew up out of the ground and it tastes like sugar. There you go. And one day, the settlers were talking to the nomads. And I guess maybe the natives had moved somewhere else because they were like, you guys stink. And we want to go somewhere where the trees are taller, maybe. But the,
Cool.
the nomads were talking to the settlers, And they were like, yeah, how's the weather at the, proverbial water cooler in the Elfin Forest? And the nomads were like, it's cool. We like to do rituals in the dark, and we do lots of seances sometimes during certain types of the year, and it's a good time. Also, we found this mass grave of children, and they're all buried facing up. It's super cool. It's like a rave.
Facing up as if they were standing, but in the ground. So
Yeah.
their head was the closest thing to us.
They were buried vertically.
Yeah.
And I guess the settlers were like, we thought you were cool. We thought you were having dance parties, and just not inviting us, which is fine because we dance differently. But the fact that you say you're practicing what we ascertain as occultism and rituals and seances, that's not cool. Also, I guess the villagers had been experiencing children, large groups of children, just running through their village. And they were like, this is really weird.
Children.
Yes, this is really weird because there aren't actually children there. There's just ghosts of children
Saw a delusion. It's actually Toph running through the forest.
running through our
Because she's got
village.
bare feet. You're going to talk about bare feet now? Children bare feet? She's really scared of children with bare feet.
Yeah, it really bothers
Which
me.
is funny because she's going to have 3 children, and they're at some point going to walk around on hardwood without any socks.
And I told you I'm going to duct tape those socks to their feet. I'm going to make them wear onesies.
You think that can stop them?
Going to make them wear onesies so they can't take them off like the footy pajamas.
That would be embarrassing. You're going to cause drama of them being in onesies as a 12-year-old child.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
God.
I'll pay for their therapy. No one can pay for the therapy that I need from the freaking spirit children running with bare feet on hardwood floor. No amount of therapy will solve that.
Maybe you should be in a onesie.
I would have loved to be in a onesie. I hate pants, but I love me some onesies.
Disgusting.
Anyways, I did a TikTok live in a taco onesie.
Uh-huh.
It was a good time. So, droves of children were rampaging through their streets. And when the settlers heard the nomads talk about that, they're like, interesting. Tell me more. They're like, yeah, we really wanted to communicate with the souls of these children because we didn't know why so many of them were buried in one area. Also, it's kind of weird that they're standing up like they're in a party. And I should preface this without any jokes because I am just joking, guys. Please don't be offended if you are. I guess that's your problem. So in the Duengo culture, they bury their lost loved ones standing up and facing, I think it was west, possibly, or east. It's one of the left. I'm just going to go with west. Because it prepares them for the next part of their spiritual journey or life, afterlife. So it's really cool. It's different for us, but it's cool. It's cool for them. I'm about it. I mean, I'm just not I don't even want to be buried.
I think it's west. They're telling me that weird thing about what you do to close Ouija boards. You do it counterclockwise.
I think I wrote it down somewhere in here. Yeah, they're facing west.
Yeah, because I don't know, some spirit's telling me it's similar to how you close Ouija boards. You do 3 circles to the left or 2 counterclockwise, which would be west. So maybe they thought that if they're facing the west, then they won't come back as a spirit to here. The physical realm.
Maybe.
It would close their chapter.
Yeah. Something about preparing them for their life and the afterlife. But the settlers were like, interesting, telling me more about the children. And yeah, it was this big mass grave. They were all standing up like they're in a rave. And we wanted to communicate with them. So we did this really cool seance to talk to them because we wanted to figure out why they died. A lot of children in one space like that. It's not like a daycare, So we were curious. So they talked to the souls of the children, according to the nomads, and the villagers got pissed. They were like, that's not cool. We don't agree with your religious cultural practices. Also, now we got little Timmy who won't stop running through our kitchen at night.
What, did it just cause them to start haunting things, or did they just realize that that's what was happening?
That was the alluded to idea. It was never strictly expressed.
That they're trying to talk to children's spirits, and now there's children's spirits?
Yes.
Interesting.
They raised the souls of the children's spirits, and instead of being affected by they got what they wanted, but ended up haunting their neighbor's house. It's like if you were to hold a seance at my house, and then all of a sudden, my neighbor's house is super haunted. And they're like, God damn it.
God dang it, Bobby.
So they ended up haunting their neighbor's house, and the settlers got upset about it and the way in which they went about it, because it wasn't, I assume, close to their own practices or religion, whatever. So as settlers do, they got their pitchforks and they started to have a riot, and not like the cool riot.
The ones with pitchforks.
Yeah.
What is a cool riot?
There's a Paramore song called Riot, and then there's also like other songs. It's like,
a rave?
Let's start a riot. A riot, you know?
It's only cool when you're in the riot,
Yeah.
not when you're on the receiving end of it.
I mean, unless you're into that kind of thing.
Oh, God.
But anyways, they got their pitchforks and they were like, well, we're going to tell these nomads what's up because we don't like that they haunted our house and the way that they went about it. The nomads, unfortunately, I guess there was some lives lost, RIP. But there was also this one woman that was like, all right, you guys got to get out of here because the pitchfork folks are coming, like straight out of the painting. And this is not cool. So before they were, I don't know, beseeched by the angry villagers, they did one last seance, the seance of all seances, an emergency seance, if you will. And they cursed the entire forest.
That's fun.
They were like, if you can't have it and enjoy the children that we gave you at 3 o'clock in the morning running up and down your stairs, then no one can have it.
One of the cell towers I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fun time. And after they cursed the entire forest and tried to GTFO, one last woman was like, I'm going to stay behind. I am going to be the one that's going to watch this cursed forest because it's ours.
Which brings us to the spirit of the forest that I was seeing.
So, according to the alleged sources.
Yeah, because when you asked me, I don't know what you said. You said, who is she? And when you said that, I didn't know you were talking about the spirit of the forest. I thought you were talking about the lady in white.
I think this is why they call it the witch's forest.
Well, yeah.
But
Makes sense.
they just call her the forest spirit or the witch of the forest. But according to lore and recent accounts of people that are like backpacking and hiking through this forest when you were able to, because now you're not, there is a woman who is clad in all black and she rides around the forest on an all black stallion as the protector of such.
AKA the creature that I just described to you as the ruby black skeletal creature that looks half centaur-y.
Yeah, we'll post a picture of the thing that Em showed me on our Patreon. It's wild. So
Well, I mean, you can watch the video.
it gets people to the Patreon.
You can also watch our video. It gets people to the YouTubes.
I guess so. Oh, you mean our video? I thought you were watching, like, go to YouTube to watch the entire season of RWBY.
Well, no, we cover this in a visual format called YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you want to see what I was seeing, go there.
So this is the witch of the forest, and she protects the forest. I guess if you go into the forest, if your intentions are bad or she doesn't like your vibe, she'll curse you. And this curse is not something that you can physically see. I guess people describe it in the lore as...
Can you normally see curses?
I've never tried.
She'll say.
Anyways, I'm going to forget that I heard that. And you walk into the forest, and if you're cool, you're cool. But if you're not, you get like this chill. You know, like out of nowhere, it just feels like you get weird and cold. Also,
Yeah, you were talking about that when we were making the videos.
yeah, because I fucking got a chill before I talked about it.
Oh, you cost now?
I wasn't even in the forest. That's not okay.
She's a spiritual being.
I know. I understand it. I understand it, but the other people don't understand it. And I think that still, as a physical being, I should be given the leeway to make that decision myself.
Maybe she just has a weird, when she touches your shoulder, you just get that weird
I
feeling.
speak to the trees.
What?
I speak to the trees. I should be allowed in. She's like, no, you can't know our secrets. Screw it.
Uh-huh, because the trees have the rumors.
Man, that's not fair.
What? It's not fair.
I want to go
That
talk
you're
to
cursed?
the tiny trees.
You can't go there. It's no trespassing.
Anyways, you get this non-physical curse that you can't see, but you get this weird chill, and that means you got the curse of the witch. And if you come back after you get marked by the curse of the witch, I guess people have experienced the sense of losing their mind, screaming in extreme pain that they feel, but there is no physical cause of it, and then death.
Just when you're in the forest, though?
I guess so.
If you leave the forest, does that not happen to you?
If you leave the forest, you still have, like, some issues.
You don't die a painful death.
Well, I mean, if you don't die a painful death, you're just like, man, I feel crazy. Also, my arm, it hurts. Why?
Interesting.
I don't know. He
Okay.
walked back into her forest. She was like, I told you, you're not allowed to come back.
Uh-huh.
And stay out.
No.
So that's her. Super cool time. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. And now we get into Harmony Grove. So Harmony Grove is a community that exists in the Elfin Forest to this day. And according to my research, it is, I assumed, the now current congregation of people that are like the nomads, basically. So I guess the nomads never really left. They kind of like got out, cursed the forest, and then were like, JK, here's some ancestors. We're going to make a place called Harmony Grove. But in the 70s, Harmony Grove was actually called Spooks Canyon.
Spooketh.
Yeah, goodness. And then I guess at some point they were like, we don't want to be called Spooks Canyon anymore. We're going to call ourselves Harmony Grove. And Harmony Grove is a presently existing community of people, and all of the people that live there are paranormalists, spiritualists, and all types of metaphysical individuals. And that's what they call home. And I guess before the no trespassing order was put into place, people would come through and be like, oh, we want to talk to you. We're going to talk to the trees. Like Sam and Colby. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, you guys aren't cool. You're not being respectful. Your questions are redundant and stupid. Here's a no trespassing order.
Also, get out of my yard.
You've been served. So now you can't go there. Thanks, people, for ruining it for everyone else. You know who you are, and so does the witch.
Jesus.
But yeah. And I just wanted to say that one of the other things is, I guess, when you could trespass here,
mm-hmm.
there's like this culvert pipe that magically has like red little kid feet on it. And they say that that's the like little kids running through the forest to this day.
Your worst nightmare.
It really is.
Barefoot children walking on pipes.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Vomitous. Now we get to Em's favorite part. I guess, well, also, there's this man that walks around the forest, and he's got like a stovetop hat and stuff, and he's like carrying in a lantern.
Guys, I've been telling people on Patreon about this because it makes me upset. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
And when I was looking at pictures of the Elfin Forest or Angeles National Forest, I saw this like one stump of a tree that I saw a man with a stovetop hat and a lantern leaning up against. And when I read this, I was like, ooh, scary. So now we get into the last part, the part that Em doesn't like.
Yeah. To preface this, she asks me, what is the weird beast that's in the forest? And I was like, I don't know, a bear? What do you mean?
It's actually, you were seeing the essence, the manifested essence of Smokey the Bear.
Yeah,
it's California.
Oh, God.
Sorry. Anyways, the last thing is the cryptid. With the menagerie of weird things that happen in this forest of lights, screams, spiritual beings, and every other sort of type of paranormal spoopiness that you could attribute, there is an owl. But not just any owl. It is a 10-foot tall, on the nose, white owl that parades the forest and eats people.
And if you guys haven't heard our previous podcast where we talk about your spirit guides being your family members, I talk about seeing owls all the time out of freaking nowhere. And I thought you would think that I have figured it out because I talk about why I'm seeing these weird owls, all over the place in that podcast. But for some reason, I'm still seeing them. And I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I'm just seeing them because I keep talking about owls, so my phone's just going to bring it up owls all the time. But when Liv fucking researches something and says, oh, There's just a giant owl in this forest. It's something I can't ignore, you know what I'm fucking saying? But if you haven't seen that podcast, I've been seeing owls because there's been this giant, I don't know, Jabberwocky type of creature that has been following me around, and my spirit guides used it to be like, you have eyes on the back of your head, so that I would realize there was something walking behind me.
It's really funny. So the
Stresses me out.
The 10-foot towel Hedwig likes to eat people, and I guess I heard one thing where they like peel off the tops of cars like tuna cans and like eat little Timmy. So do with that what you will.
Eat little Timmy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing a bird that big?
Eating someone like a mouse?
It doesn't even matter if they're eating something.
Oh, just seeing a bird that big?
A bird is bigger than you are.
Yeah, I would probably try to turn myself into an earthworm and just
you would fit
bury myself into
vertically
the earth.
in that owl and then become an owl pellet.
I hope a giant comes over and dissects me in their elementary school class.
Can you imagine seeing owl pellets that big?
If it was me, I would be really stoked.
You and a couple other people would be pushed together in some owl vomit.
Man, no, okay. I'm right now.
But you would be able to tell because it'd be your red hair, sorry.
I may refer to myself as a snack.
A snack?
But I'm telling this
An owl snack.
before it eats me that I'm a whole goddamn meal.
The most Leo thing you've ever heard.
Ain't nobody else gonna be fucking pushing their bones together in my owl pellet. Are you kidding me? I am one owl pellet. That is it.
Wow.
That's the stipulation. I'll tell him too. I'll sit him down and be like, good sir.
I don't think that's enough hair and bones for him to regurgitate.
Oh, goodness.
Maybe if you were covered in hair.
No!
Then it would be enough for an owl pellet.
I mean, I am pretty hairy. I just won't like...
You're not hairy like a beast. Like an animal.
I'm really glad that my personal hygiene gives you that illusion.
I can see your skin.
I'm a whole ass snack 10-foot owl. Don't you forget it.
The most Leo thing you'll ever hear. Being eaten by a giant owl. I am the only thing you will eat. God dang it.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like that gum from Willy Wonka. Whole ass meal. I hope he turns into a
Gum is not a meal.
You didn't watch the new Willy Wonka. You have to chew it, and you have 3-course meal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka scares me.
Well, I think that's the point. Anyways, 10-foot owl, I'll see you in my dreams, my nightmares. I'll dissect myself. I'll come back as little Timmy before you eat
could talk to the owl pellet.
No,
as a psychic medium.
I literally, if was eaten by a 10-foot owl, would come back to the giant's elementary school class and haunt him and be like, hey, that's my femur.
He's actually the owl from the Avatar in the spiritual library.
Here's my funny bone.
Maybe the forest is actually the Akashic Records. Do you think about that?
No.
Well, there's a giant owl in it. How could it possibly not be?
It's not the same owl.
What do you mean it's not the same owl?
Well, the owl from the Akashic Records isn't white. It's black.
Probably also not an owl.
God.
What?
So that's the witch's forest. You shouldn't go into it.
Because it's illegal.
Well, 1, it's illegal. 2, you could get cursed. And 3, you could become an owl pellet. How do you feel?
Those are your options.
Those are your options.
You'd probably get arrested because you can't trespass.
I mean, that's probably the best option that could happen.
Or something.
Do that before you get cursed or eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. The owl's going to eat you in your car.
So Patreon people, please tell me, why am I seeing owls? And on that note, we have a Patreon. Did you guys know?
Patreon.
Shout out.
Patreones. The towels of the Bed Bath and the Beyond.
Shannon.
Shannon. Cindy.
Kaylee.
Mev.
Rainika.
Mystery Girl.
Trinity.
Avery.
Cass.
Anthony.
Violet.
Peyton.
Farina.
Allie.
Mac.
Autumn.
Thais.
Victoria.
Jenny.
Laurel.
Brianna.
Nate.
Bradley.
Sandy.
Naz.
Sherry.
Christina.
Sushi.
Anita.
Katie.
Charles.
Holly.
Krista.
Flo.
Malake.
Putting things on the table. Can hear it forever.
Now you can.
And in the next episode, we're going to talk about something because everything's out of order.
Well,
it's kind of like
just
Star Wars. Think of it that way.
We've recorded we're 6 videos ahead or something
Mm-hmm.
because the Conjuring video just keeps popping off. And I just keep reorganizing them, so I don't know what's next.
I know. So we're going to make another Conjuring podcast because one came out and the next one's going to come out after that one.
And
so
you already have it, so there you go.
it's going to be a good time. Good time.
And we're your Meta PsycKicks.
I'm excited to open the ghost hunting equipment in Patreon.
O'Reilly! Stay cool this summer with AC Pro and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get a $15 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after mail-in rebate with the purchase of select AC Pro ready-to-use refrigerant products that include a hose and gauge. Beat the heat before you hit the road with AC Pro at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Bundling car and renter's insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. But who? Look for the signs. Chances are they live in a home and have a car. They use money and enjoy having more of it. They probably drink lots of lemonade. Lemonade. And they've probably said something suspicious like, "I'm bundling with Geico," or "Stop spying on me with those binoculars." If so, you may want to ask them how easy it was to bundle with Geico. Bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.